While Santa normally sends the gifts at this time of year, why not give yourself a gift this year with NordVPN, who have very kindly sponsored today's video. Internet security is always an issue. Even at the festive season, you could be on a public Wi-Fi spot and someone could be accessing your private data. With Nord on your device, however, this won't be an issue. There are thousands of servers in over 60 countries which you can connect to, making sure you are safely browsing no matter where you are in the world. And with Nord, you can connect to servers from around the globe and access the web as if you were in that country. Santa could be flying over Europe but still connected to the servers in the USA. This means you can bypass online restrictions in countries with tight internet control like China and some Middle East countries. NordVPN is super easy to use and their help at elves are available 24/7 for any issues you might have. In the festive season, Nord are also giving away NordPass, a password manager that remembers all your logins for you, autofills online forms, and can even generate strong passwords, all stress-free, meaning Nord can not only protect your online browsing but your passwords too. Nord's fantastic deal of 81% off a 3-year plan, an extra 4 months with NordVPN, as well as NordPass is available to you guys for a limited time, so go to nordvpn.com/nameexplain and use the code NAMEEXPLAIN, which will all be linked down below. Once again, that's nordvpn.com/nameexplain and code NAMEEXPLAIN. Thank you once again to NordVPN for sponsoring today's video. Hello all, Christmas is fast approaching and this is my last video of the year before I take my Christmas/New Year's break. But do not fear, I'll be back with new videos on Tuesday the 7th of January 2020. Though before I slink off into the festive season to build Lego, eat chocolate and play Pokemon, there's still one more name that needs to be explained. To me, this video is my version of that last week of school before Christmas when the teacher gives you a picture of a Christmas tree to colour in. In my head, I'm already cozy on a sofa with a mince pie and mulled wine. Anyway, we talked about his reindeer earlier, but now it's time for the name of the big man himself to be explained, or should I say his many names. Yep, today we're looking into the many names that the fat man in red with the long white beard goes by, whether you know him as Santa Claus, Father Christmas, St. Nicholas, Kris Kringle, or one of the many other names he takes on around the globe. These are the 4 names we'll be covering today as they're the most popular ones in the English speaking world. But please let me know what he is called in your part of the world and what specific traditions come with him. I'd seriously love to know. However, before we look into these, are they really all the same person? Well, yes and no. It seems that traditionally these names were somewhat names for different, totally real people, all being different gift bringer figures from around the globe. However, in more recent times, these names seem to link to the same character more or less. In simple terms, googling Father Christmas and googling Santa Claus yields pretty much the exact same results. Though before Santa Claus and Father Christmas, we had St. Nicholas. Now for some reason, people like to insist that Santa Claus isn't real, which I've always found confusing. I mean, how else do the presents get under the tree? However, it seems that this dubious existence has even been applied to St. Nicholas too. It seems however his life fits more into legend than flat out fiction. We have a birthplace for him and even birth dates, and the stories of what he did. However, we have no actual first-hand evidence of his existence, no writings from him or anything like that. More people talking about him. It seems the general consensus is that there was a real person, but his story has been embellished in the history books. Though, what was that story, and how did it turn St. Nicholas into jolly old St. Nick as he's more affectionately known as today? Well, the story goes that before sainthood, just Nicholas was born on the 15th of March 270 AD in Patara, which is in modern day Turkey. He was a very wealthy man as his parents died young, leaving him a large sum of money. He was known to be very kind and used his money for good, including giving gifts to those who needed them. His most famous story involves a poor man with 3 daughters. He was not able to provide a dowry for his daughters, so they couldn't get married. One night, however, Nicholas dropped a bag of gold down the poor man's chimney to pay his eldest daughter's dowry. The bag supposedly fell into a stocking that was hanging by the fire to dry. Nicholas also did this for the middle and youngest daughter too, but when it came to the youngest daughter, the father hid up the chimney to see who was sending the gold. When he found out it was Nicholas, news got out and the legend began. It came to be that when anyone received a gift, it was thought to be from Nicholas, and you can even see from this story where the tradition of a stocking full of gifts came from. Due to his kindness, he was granted sainthood, becoming Saint Nicholas as we know today, eventually dying on the 6th of December 343 AD, a date that is still celebrated as his feast day. Though, what about the name Nicholas? That's what we're here for, right? The name derives from the Greek Nikolaos, which means victory people, so I guess anyone with this name is pretty good at winning stuff. This Greek name of Nikolaos comes from the Greek Nike, which means victory, and Laos, which means people. The Greek word for victory, Nike, comes from the name of their goddess of victory, Nike, and yes, the sports company was named after her too. St. Nicholas stayed a popular figure all the way up until the 16th century, as it was this time the Reformation swept over Europe and suddenly those sorts of stories and traditions fell out of popularity. However, children still expected gifts gifts. So who was going to deliver them now? It was here that St. Nick transformed into the various characters he is more commonly known as today, so the traditions could continue but the religious parts could be swept under the rug. Here in the UK, St. Nicholas became Father Christmas, and over time this became something of a different character altogether as opposed to just another name for St. Nick. I read that Father Christmas is seen as the embodiment of Christmas, and this somewhat explains his name too, as it is so often that we see personifications of concepts given a paternal name, with figures like Mother Nature and Father Time. The word father itself is thought to be a seriously ancient word, which makes sense because as long as there have been humans, there have been fathers too. It dates back to the Latin term for dad, pater. However, this is thought to come from the pa-pa-pa sounds that babies make. We talked about this in more detail in our video all about dads. And of course, Christmas comes from a combination of Christ and Mass. Christ being the title for Jesus and Mass being a name for a service in Christianity. In other parts of Europe like Germany and Austria, however, the festive gift-giving figure became Christkind. This isn't a large bearded old man, but rather a small blonde-haired winged child. As he is a small child, he is affectionately sometimes known as Christkindl, relating to the German words for kids and children. Meanwhile, in the Netherlands, St. Nicholas remained popular, and this name of St. Nicholas was condensed into just Sinterklaas, and it was the affectionate name of Christkindl and the condensed name of Sinterklaas that made their way across the Atlantic with the many Europeans who migrated into the New World. This was in the early days of the USA's history, and over time the names were anglicised/Americanized into the names Kris Kringle and of course the name Santa Claus. Whether you call him Father Christmas, Santa Claus, St. Nick, or something else entirely, hopefully you have been good this year and you'll receive the gifts you've wished for. Thank you to Patrick Sizkowski and Robert Fiddis for suggesting the name on Patreon, and Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to all. I'll be back again very soon. Thank you to all my patrons who support Name Explain on a monthly basis. Name Explain depends on small monthly donations from fans like you to help keep the channel running. Just a small amount of $2 a month helps in a huge way, grants you patron exclusive Name Explain extras, and gets your name here with all these awesome people. Thank you. Hello all, and thank you so much for reaching the end of the video. Stick around and check out another video and subscribe to stay up to date on all things Name Explain. You can follow myself on Twitter at NameExplainYT. Follow me there and tweet the name Nick at me so I know you came from this message. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and once again, Merry Christmas.